Bonjour tout le monde, ça va bien? I hope you're really well today. So this week we're going to be starting au Parc Safari. So we're looking at the safari park. Écrivez la date, so write down your date for today, et écrivez le titre, write down the title, et soulignez, please underline the date and the title. Pour commencer, our starter task is you've got a lovely word snake here and write out the animals that you see in the word snake, okay? And then you can match them with the pictures. So pause this video while you're doing that task. Merci. Alors, on va continuer avec le vocabulaire. So let's have a look at our vocabulary for this week. So I want you to write down the vocabulary, please, in French and in English. I'm going to do the pronunciation now, so you can listen, écoutez et répétez, s'il vous plaît. Écoutez et répétez. Un éléphant, un éléphant. Une girafe, une girafe. Un hippopotame, un hippopotame, un lion, un lion, un rhinocéros, un rhinocéros, un singe, un singe, un tigre, un tigre, un zèbre, un zèbre. Alors, so these are our animals. Please make sure that you write them down in English and in French. Okay? Also write down the adjectives for today because we're going to be using these with our sentences. So, effrayant is scary, féroce, ferocious, fort is strong, grincheux is grumpy, méchant is nasty, and sage is wise. Also write down the adjective ending for the feminine, okay? Effrayante, forte, grincheuse, and méchante. Okay, pause this while you're doing that task. There is an extra task here and a challenge to translate ce géant grinchant éléphant bleu qui s'appelle Orville. If you're able to do that, that would be really lovely. So pause while you're writing your vocab. Make sure, please, that you write your vocab really neatly and clearly. C'est très important. Merci. Did you do the challenge, the translation? So, géant grinchant éléphant bleu qui s'appelle Orville. So that was, I have a grumpy blue elephant who is called Orville. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Alors, on va continuer. So the grammar, I want you first of all to see if you know what the tense is. I haven't written up the title of the grammar yet because I want you to see if you can figure out from the conversation with Bart and Bob. So what tense are they using? Okay, so tu as visité le parc safari? Oui, j'ai visité le parc safari et j'ai vu un éléphant et une girafe. Okay, so see if you can figure that out. Please write the question and the answer in your book in French and in English. Okay, pause while you're doing that and I'll go through the translation in a moment. Okay, so let's see first of all if you have the translation correct. So tu as visité le parc safari is, did you visit the safari park? And then Bob says, oui, j'ai visité le parc safari. Yes, I visited the safari park. Et j'ai vu un éléphant et une girafe. And I saw an elephant and a giraffe. So the answer to the question is that it's in the past tense. They're using the past tense. They're talking about things that they saw. Okay, and in French we call this the perfect, rather in English we call it the perfect tense, and in French we call this the passé composé. Okay, so let's have a little look at the perfect tense. So first of all, we're going to look at a little video on the perfect tense, and then afterwards we're going to answer some questions. Okay, so these are the three questions that I want you to answer. So maybe you can write these questions down in your book before we play the video. So when do we use the perfect tense? How do we form the perfect tense? And what are the past participle endings for ER, IR, and RE verbs? Okay, so please write down those questions in your book and look at, I'm going to play the video now, so look out for the answer to those questions in the video. Merci beaucoup. Okay, let's have a look at the video. So look out for the 3 questions.
The perfect tense, or referring to actions that are done and dusted with avoir and être. The perfect tense is used to talk about an action that is completely finished. The majority of verbs in the perfect tense are formed with avoir by joining the present tense of avoir with the past participle of the main verb. For verbs that end in er, change the er ending to e acute. Then put the present tense of avoir in front. J'ai mangé du popcorn. For regular verbs ending in IR, change the IR to I and add the present tense of avoir. Elle a fini tous ses bonbons. As for regular verbs ending in RE, change the RE to you and add the present tense of avoir. J'ai attendu longtemps. Some verbs are formed in the perfect tense with être. There aren't that many, so it's useful to remember them. But if using the verb être, the past participle must agree with its subject. Il est sorti du cinéma. Elle est sortie du cinéma. Ils sont sortis du cinéma.
Okay, so très bien. Okay, let's go to our questions now. So when do we use the perfect tense? How did you get on with that one? So we use it to describe a specific and completed action in the past. Examples, I saw, I visited. So I saw is j'ai vu, I visited is j'ai visité. Can you write that down in your books, please? So to describe a specific and completed action in the past, and the 2 examples, j'ai vu, I saw, and j'ai visité, I visited. Question 2 was, how do we form the perfect tense? So we have our subject, who is the person doing the action. We have the present tense of the verb avoir or être, and we have a past participle. Okay, so let's have a look at some examples. So, j'ai visité un safari l'année dernière. So, I visited a safari last year. Let's look at the first part. So, je is the person who's doing the action, your subject. Et is the present tense avoir. And visiter with the E on the end at the accent is the past participle of visiter. The next example, je suis allé au Kenya la semaine dernière. So I went to Kenya last week. Oh, wow, that would be amazing. So again, the subject is the je, the person doing the action. Suis is the present tense of the verb être, and aller is the past participle of the verb aller. Okay, so please write down this formula in your book. Pause the recording while you're doing that, and write down the 2 examples as well. Okay, so the last question, what are the past participle endings for ER, IR, and RE verbs? Okay, so let's have a look at those. So the past participle endings for ER verbs is E with an accent on it, E aigu. So your example there is j'ai mangé, which is I ate. The past participle for IR verbs is I, and your example is j'ai fini, I finished, which is what we say in lessons. And then the past participle for RE verbs is with a U. So j'ai vendu, I sold. Okay, so pause the recording, please, while you write down those endings and also the 3 examples. Merci beaucoup. Okay, so let's look at the 3 steps for forming the perfect tense. So for ER verbs, the first step, and I want you to write this in your book, please. So for ER verbs, the first step is to find the infinitive of the verb. For example, visiter, which is to visit. We remove the verb family ending, which is the ER, and then we're left with the stem visite. Then we add our past participle ending, which we know is E accent for ER verbs. So then it becomes visiter, and then we add on our avoir, we say j'ai visité, I visited. Okay, so write down the example as well. Now let's look at the IR verbs. So it's the exact same here. We find the infinitive of the verb. For example, finir, to finish. We take off the IR, which is the verb family. So then we're left with the stem, fin or fin. Then we add on the past participle ending for IR verbs, which is an I. So we end up with j'ai fini, which is I finished. Okay? And the last family, verb family, are the RE verbs. So again, we find the infinitive of the verb, which is vendre, which is to sell. We take off the verb family ending, the RE, so we're left with the stem, which is vend. And then we add the past participle for RE verbs, which we know is a U. So then our verb becomes in the perfect tense, j'ai vendu, which is I sold. Okay, so please write down those 3 examples. You can summarize them as best you can, but make sure that you know how to form the perfect tense for ER, IR, and RE verbs. Merci. Okay, so let's see. So we've seen that we need, one of the key things that we need is the verb avoir. So can you remember, just say it out loud now, the verb avoir. Maybe you can remember the song. I love this song so much that goes with avoir. What would it be? So let's see. So the first one is, oh, in fact, they all come off together. So it's j'ai, tu as, il a, elle a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont, elles ont. Okay, so remember that, please, that's the present tense of avoir that we need to form our sentences. Now, of course, there's always going to be some irregulars, okay? So some verbs that just are a bit naughty and don't behave the way that we would like them to behave. But they're quite straightforward, and once we know them, we'll just remember them. So the infinitive of the verb would be voir, which is to see, and the past participle for voir is vous. Okay, and boire, to drink, the past participle is bu, which is great that they rhyme. Okay, so let's look at some lovely examples. J'ai vu un girafe. What does that mean? I saw a giraffe. J'ai vu un rhinocéros. Qu'est-ce que c'est? I saw a rhinoceros. J'ai bu du l'eau. I drank water. Okay, c'est très bien. Écrivez, s'il vous plaît. Write down the infinitive, boire, boire, et voir, the English, so you know what they are, and the past participles. Okay, and write down the examples. J'ai vu un girafe et j'ai bu du l'eau. Pause while you were doing that, please. Alors, c'est très bien. On va continuer. So let's look at some examples. We had a sneak preview there a moment ago. So, j'ai vu un éléphant. Qu'est-ce que c'est en anglais? I saw an elephant. C'est très bien. What do you think this one might be in French? J'ai vu un lion. And what's that? Qu'est-ce que c'est? I saw a lion. Alors, what about this one? What would this be? J'ai vu un tigre. I saw a tiger. And the last one, j'ai visité un safari. What would that be in English? I visited a safari. Okay, c'est très bien. Now, finally, to finish off with, I want you to copy the sentences. Sorry, I don't know why this thing at the top keeps, I don't know how to get rid of it. Sorry, everybody. I really don't know what to do. So copy the sentences and find the perfect tense verbs, okay? So I want you to write down, you 5 little sentences here to write down. And I want you to see, can you find where the perfect tense is. Okay, so write out these 5 sentences and underline or highlight where you've discovered the perfect tense is. Okay, so the extra challenge is to translate the sentences into English. So if I was doing this, I would probably be doing my translation as I'm going along. Okay, so pause the video, please, while you do this task. Alors, on va continuer. So let's see, how did you get on? Were you able to find the perfect tense in the sentences? So let's look at the first one. L'année dernière, j'ai visité. So j'ai visité means I visited. Un point if you got that correct. What does the sentence mean? What's the translation? So it's last year I visited a safari in Africa with my family. Oh, c'est génial. That would be amazing. Now, what about the next one? J'ai vu, did you get that right? So I saw. J'ai vu des girafes, des singes, des lions, des tigres et des zèbres. C'était fantastique. So I saw giraffes, monkeys, lions, tigers, and zebras. It was fantastic. Now, I hope that you noticed that c'était is not the perfect tense, okay? So remember that c'était is the imperfect tense. So it was fantastic, okay? Let's go on to number 3. So, dimanche dernier, j'ai visité LESSON de Londres. So did you have j'ai visité, I visited in the sentence? So the full translation is, last Sunday, I visited the zoo in London, or the London Zoo. Okay, c'est très bien. The next one, j'ai vu. So j'ai vu, I saw, that's the perfect. J'ai vu des singes, mais je n'ai pas vu du hippopotame. That's a tongue twister. Du hippopotame. Alors, so we've got j'ai vu, I saw the monkeys, but I did not see the hippopotamus. Okay, and le 5, le tigre est mon animal préféré, il était fort. Is there any perfect tense in that sentence? No, there's no perfect tense here. Why? So let's look at it. The tiger is my favorite animal, so est is in the present tense. And il était fort. Il était is the imperfect tense. He was strong. Okay? So we don't have any perfect in that last sentence. Alors, tout le monde, c'est tout pour aujourd'hui. Well done today, please. Merci beaucoup, and we'll see you next lesson. Au revoir. À bientôt.